The word tasbeeh that we do, subhanallah, 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 is derived from the idea of sabh or sabaha, which means to float or to swim. وَالسَّبْحُ الْمَرُّ السَّرِيعُ فِي الْمَاءِ. It actually means to move quickly in the water or to float in the water. وَفِي الْهَوَاءِ, and also in the air. So birds also do a kind of floating in the air, and that's actually called sabaha also. So anything that floats or remains in its place is called, it's said to be engaged in the act of sabaha. وَالتَّسْبِيحُ تَنْزِيهٌ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى وَأَصْلُهُ الْمَرُّ السَّرِيعُ فِي الْعِبَادَةِ. Some actually argue because sabaha actually means to move quickly. That is, when one moves quickly to the worship of Allah, they're engaged in the act of tasbih. But the other meaning is that, when something floats, it refuses to drown, right? And when something stays in one place, that means that it's maintaining its position. What it is we learn some things about Allah. We learn that He's one. We learn that He has no child. We learn that He's eternal, that He's since ever and forever. We learn that He's perfect in every way. We learn things about Him. Everything you learn about Him, now you've declared a certain status for Him. Now for you to say anything that takes away from that status, is you're bringing that level down. Like you're making the praise of Him drown a little bit or sink a little bit. You can't allow that to happen. Everything you say about Allah, everything you do in service to Allah should actually reflect tasbeeh, the idea of Allah's perfection. That you don't bring down anything and you let these names and attributes and the descriptions of Allah float where they're supposed to. You don't let anything sink down even a little bit. To put this in practical terms, we have relationships in life. We have, for example, a relationship with our parents. And there's a certain level of respect and love and, loyalty and obedience you have to maintain with your parents. But sometimes your parents put that to the test. Sometimes your parents ask very unreasonable things of you. They lose their cool. They blame you for things you haven't done. Parents can do all kinds of things sometimes. And at those times, what happens? Sometimes a person loses their cool and their appreciation or their respect for their parents dips. It goes down, right? And then they have to apologize and go back and bring it back up again, right? But the idea is, this is why you'll find in the Quran, when people say blasphemous things, when people attribute partners to Allah or say inappropriate things about Allah, then the response to that is subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's too perfect for you to say that. You have to maintain that perfection. That's actually the idea of saying subhanallah. To declare the perfection of Allah and not allow any flaw to be attributed to Him, and that the imagery is drawn from something floating. But then Allah adds to that statement, nusabbihu. We don't just say nusabbihu, nusabbihullaha. Like we say subhanallah. We don't say nusabbihullah. We nusabbihu bihamdillah. The Quran continuously adds this phrase. Sabbih isma rabbik. On the one hand, you can declare the perfection of the name of Allah by saying subhanallah. But then there's sabbih bismi rabbika al-azim. أو سبح بحمد ربك. And I'll highlight one of them for you today, to declare Allah's perfection by praising and thanking Him. Two parts to this. The first part of this is you have to understand what hamd is. Hamd is to be appreciative of Allah, to appreciate the things that Allah does. Like if Allah Azza wa Jal has created something beautiful, for you to admire the beauty of what Allah created is part of hamd. That's one part of it, appreciation. And the other part of it is thanks. To acknowledge that a favor has been done to you. Look, when I appreciate a beautiful mountain, I'm into mountains. When I see a beautiful mountain, I'm appreciating it. But the mountain didn't do me any favors, necessarily. So I'm not thanking Allah for the mountain, but I'm certainly appreciating Allah for the mountain, right? But the idea of hamd is it combines thanks and appreciation together. And now by tying this idea of hamd to tasbih, nusabbihu bihamdika, the angels are saying that the way we declare that you are perfect is that we constantly find things to appreciate about you. And we constantly acknowledge things to be grateful to you for. A human being cannot declare the perfection of Allah without appreciation and gratitude. That's actually what we're learning. This is a very powerful concept. The perfection of Allah is not a philosophical construct in Islam. Like in philosophy, you can discuss whether God is perfect or imperfect, or eternal or not, in theological literature or in philosophical literature. But in the Quran, it's actually tied to human emotions. The perfection of Allah can only be appreciated when you are appreciative and when you're grateful. And both appreciation and gratitude are matters of the heart. Something is beautiful, you see its beauty, you appreciate its beauty where? In your heart. Some favor has been done to you, you feel gratitude where? In your heart. So instead of these being philosophical ideas, these are actually spiritual ideas. The tasbeeh of Allah is a matter of the heart, which is a very powerful realization for us to acknowledge. That the angels themselves are saying that they have a heartfelt appreciation for Allah's perfection. And ya Allah, you're going to create someone who's not in your presence, who's left on the earth. He's not going to be able to see you. He's going to have to believe in you in the unseen. And when out of sight, out of mind, he's not going to be acknowledging your appreciation. He's not going to be grateful for what you do for him. You're invisible to him. So he's just going to live his life and complain and forget about you. So that's captured in نَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ. The next thing that I wanted to, before I move on about the perfection of Allah, that I wanted to highlight in this phrase is something that just really struck me about the way Musa alayhi salam spoke to Allah when he asked for his brother to help him on his mission. I know that's not related to these ayat, but it mentions tasbeeh there. So he asked Allah Azza wa Jal to allow his brother to join him in his mission. Ushdud bihi azri. Ashrikhu fi amri. Make him a partner in my mission. I can't do this mission to go challenge the Pharaoh, Fir'aun, alone. I need him alongside with me. He will give strength to my back. Make him a partner in my mission. Why should you make him a partner in my mission? كَيْ نُسَبِّحَكَ كَثِيرًا وَنَذْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا. So we can both declare your perfection a lot. What is that? What does the mission with Fir'aun have to do with declaring Allah's perfection? And why does he need, his brother Harun alayhi salam to declare? He could do tasbih himself. So why is he combining his brother in this mission and saying, so that we can declare your perfection? What are by opposites things are recognized? تُعْرَفُ الْأَشْيَاءُ بِأَضْدَادِهَا. What is the opposite of perfection? Imperfection. Right? Flaw. What's the opposite of flawless? Flawed. I and my brother are going to do our best to serve your deen. And sometimes I will need to be corrected because I need to do something better. Sometimes he will need to be corrected because neither I nor my brother are what? We're perfect. And when we are corrected, that will be a reminder that the only one that is beyond correction, who's always perfect, is Allah Azza wa Jal. As a matter of fact, when somebody corrects you or me, and when somebody advises you or me, when somebody picks up after a flaw of yourself and myself, and we acknowledge that flaw, and we say, Subhanallah, we're actually saying, of course I have a flaw, because the only one without flaw is Allah. And when someone refuses to acknowledge their flaws, and when someone puts a blind spot behind, over their flaws and gets upset when some flaw is pointed out, even out of genuine concern, then they are actually denying in their heart the tasbeeh of Allah. They're denying the idea that perfection only belongs to Allah. So powerful.